Minister for Education.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to deeply miss Terry Groom in the community in the eastern suburbs which he served. As the member for Hartley and the Premier and the Leader of the Opposition, the Deputy Leader, have said, he served it with distinction and particularly with a level of engagement long after the end of his parliamentary service that I think gives testament to the authenticity of that service. The member for Hartley, the Minister for Police, described him just then as charming, charismatic, extremely hard-working and sharp as a tack. And I thought that was an excellent way to summarise him in 4 words. I engaged with Terry on a number of occasions from 2008 when I became a candidate for Morialta. Of course, the suburbs of Newton and Rostrevor and Athelston are as rich with the diverse Italian, particularly community in its multicultural makeup, as are the suburbs of Paradise and Campbelltown and Hectorville. In particular, which have potentially up to 30% of households where a language other than English has been spoken at home, certainly in the period when Terry was representing those areas and the first generation of Italians were bringing up their children. And the significant connection that was necessary for somebody to run for a seat like Hartley to have with that Italian community was tremendously important. Terry Groom, as was said, learnt how to speak fluent Italian, and former member for Hartley, Joe Scalzi, reflected to me that when he first met Terry, who he would then run against at the 1989 election, it was at Joe's uncle's house, not in Hectorville or Paradise, but indeed in Zolli, in Campania, in Italy, where Terry was visiting and Joe met him. Subsequently, Joe ran against him at the 1989 election. There was no reflection on that meeting, as I understand, but Joe, of course, was representing the Liberal Party and described it as a robust campaign, one which Terry was successful in. But after the campaign, Terry invited Joe and his family to Terry's house to share a pizza and a chat. And indeed, I understand after the 1993 election, when Terry was unsuccessful in retaining, well, indeed didn't run for Hartley, but where Joe became the new member for Hartley, Terry continued to engage with his constituents and put many in touch with Joe as their new local MP to provide assistance. The significant Italian community in the seat, and indeed the broader community of the seat of Hartley, continued to have Terry's interest, and he continued to attend in support of Grace and the Labor Party, multicultural events, community, the Montevergine Festa, the San Giorgio La Malara Festa, the San Pellegrino Festa, and others. And members who attend these festas and the processions and the masses regularly, the Premier, the member for Hartley, myself and others, would regularly see Terry at these events. And he was incredibly engaging, and he would always have interesting, sage life advice. Never political advice, because he was there in support usually of Grace or other Labor candidates or members. But he would take the time to get to know us and give us advice. And it was only more recently that I realised, of course, and I think the Leader of the Opposition described as a tremendous mischief that he had, that it was, of course, the natural thing for him to do, at the lunch after the San Giorgio La Malara Festa, to spend 3/4 of an hour talking to me as the new Liberal candidate, while, of course, his friend Grace was off talking to everybody in the room and winning votes for her side, which I caught on eventually, thankfully. But he had a passion for his community, for politics, eventually again for the Australian Labor Party, although particularly I think certain people in the Australian Labor Party, for business and the law, for the state of South Australia, for education, and can I say, I think, as I understand it, most of all for his family, for whom he will be dearly missed, and frankly, I think by everybody who knew him, he will be missed. Vale.